This is the 50th anniversary, 5 days ago, of the first airplane that came from East Africa to the United States with Heron and Dima on board. 81 students, of whom 13 were women, and I want to underscore that many times. We are delighted tonight to launch the book that records for the first time the history of a unique, visionary, and revolutionary initiative. In Africa, it was the height of the movement for independence, the anti-colonial movement. In America, it was the height of the movement for freedom, the civil rights movement. The Cold War was hot. And in the center of all of this history, a young labor leader and liberation leader decided that his people needed an education, or what would you do after independence? And he decided to fly, together with liberation leaders from the rest of East Africa, to fly eventually 776 students from East Africa to the United States, some for high school, mostly for higher education, so that when the Brits would go home after colonialism, there would be people to become the civil servants, the deans and presidents of universities, the members of parliament, and the governance, the whole infrastructure of democratic free countries. So, to help make that happen, a band of Americans came together, ready to take the risk. And I say risk with good reason. We were pilloried for doing this. We were attacked left, right, and center for upsetting the apple cart. And I'm so glad we did.
This was a very daring project for its time. People were sticking their necks out, as Cora tried to tell you. It wasn't easy, but it was what Spike Lee calls doing the right thing. They may have taken risks, but they had absolutely no personal reward to be gained out of it, other than the satisfaction of doing the right thing and of helping people who needed help. Not help because they were indigent or help because they were crippled or anything like that. They needed help that was simply not available to them in their own country. The British educational system had been such a narrow pyramid that very few people were able to graduate from it. Of these 800 people in the airlift, I would say there's somewhere in the area of 100 to 200 master's and doctoral degrees, which is an amazing amount. And they took these degrees back to their countries, for the most part, an enormous return rate, over 85, maybe 90%, and began to found university departments, medical clinics. They worked as ministers. One was the vice president of Kenya. They formed over 50% of the parliamentarians in the first 25 years of independence of these countries. A typically effusive letter was sent to the three celebrities from Joseph B. Magucha, a freshman at Greenville College in Illinois, a Methodist college just north of St. Louis, Missouri. Robinson reprinted the letter in his column. Magucha thanked Robinson and associates for bringing all the students, quote, and me in particular, to further their studies in the United States, quote, which without your sympathy and consideration would not have happened. And he wondered, quote, it's always been a puzzle to me why you and your colleague took such a brave task of bringing some of us to study over here as if you were our own fathers. I believe, as any one of the students, that you are not only treating us as brothers and friends, but also as sons of the new future of Kenya. History alone shall record the success of this project, which serves as a model not only to our country, but to all the people of the African continent. We have been so lucky to get this chance to look forward with a determination to pursue and fulfill our intellectual obligation And happy will be the day when our country and our people can enjoy the achievements of this whole exercise. That's enough for me.
U.S. Africa, the historian of our diplomatic relations, a major milestone will be Second World War. That's about the period that African countries were beginning to form from colonialism. A lot of African soldiers contributed in one way or another to the direction of the Second World War. If you go to Dar es Salaam today, in Nairobi, there's a big part of the city called the Carrier Corps. The Carrier Corps. These were the soldiers who did most of the carrying at the time. There weren't much lorries or big planes, and it is in memory of that we have that. The US also contributed in a big way to the liberation of Africa. Soon after the war, and as the Marshall Plan was being unfolded to repair, to rebuild Europe, I think part of the agenda was made sure that the colonies had to go. Colonialism for us meant that not much education was afforded to the Africans. In fact, the most one could get was grade 12, because what they needed was a population that could serve colonialism. So the Asians who had been brought from the South Asia to come and help, principally with the building of the railway, were relegated to business. The Africans, clerks, to serve the colonial administration. So there weren't any degree college students at the time. So when this group came, and as the years ticked on and independence became apparent, so this group coming on board to train the managers of a post-colonial state. If East Africa and the wider region had seen less coups sailed than West Africa, it can be attributed to that this group that was brought over. On coming back, they were able to be managers in academia, in politics, in business, and the diplomatic world. And therefore, we had a better functioning political system, say, than West Africa. So we can attribute that in the sense that we have had much fewer coups. If I can quote from the prologue in the book, Obama propelled to prominence by youthful voters who saw in him the promise of a society whose politics would no longer turn on the racial images and stereotypes. And if you removed the word ratio and put ethnic and religious images and stereotypes as far as Africa is concerned, we are still looking for our Messiah, because African societies are torn apart by religion and ethnic differences. We need to rediscover the nationalist fervor that brought us independence into the country.
Let me particularly salute those who had the vision, who had the ideas, both in Africa, led by Tom Mboya, and in America, and the group leadership is here, to bring the two peoples together, to bring the two continents together in a manner that was high risk without any doubt. But fortunately, the risk was worth taking because the results, the yield are great. The key element that I see in the airlift is that the airlift planted a seed of friendship between the two peoples, a seed of knowledge, so that those who came were able to assimilate and learn and acquire knowledge and skills to be put to the advancement of their respective countries. And my brother Ambassador Mead has already made the point that African countries were not properly prepared for independence. Some of them reached the stage of independence virtually with no university graduates at all talk about. So the people of Africa definitely are very, very grateful to the generosity of the ordinary American people, because I was looking at some pages of the book, and individuals who were earning very little money, $1, $2, $5, were making contributions to this area to make it feasible. So it was a people's project that the pioneers, the visionaries, did their great work to plant the seed of cementing a strong relationship between our two continents. I think the challenge we have now is how do we get the baton from them? What does our generation contribute to ensure that this great vision, which has made such enormous contribution, is reinforced in order to ensure that the seed grows stronger and stronger, and the relations between our two peoples grow even more strongly, and that together we meet the yawning gaps. Therefore, the challenge still remains to work in the footsteps of the visionaries so that our generation can also respond effectively to answer the problems, the challenges that our people in Africa and perhaps in America face. Once again, thank you for the excellent work that you did, you and all your